I glanced at my watch, 12:47 p.m., October 15th. 3 years. 3 years to the day since I'd walked through the front door of this house with 2 suitcases and a heart full of hope, believing I was coming home to family. Now, sitting at the mahogany dining table that Robert and I had chosen together 40 years ago, the only piece of furniture I'd been allowed to bring, I wondered if hope was just another word for foolishness. Eleanor, are you even listening to me? Rachel's sharp voice cut through my thoughts like a blade through tissue paper. My daughter-in-law sat across from me, her Botoxed face a mask of barely concealed irritation. At 34, she was what magazines would call aggressively beautiful. Every strand of her highlighted hair strategically placed, her makeup applied with military precision, even for a Saturday lunch at home. Today, though, she'd traded her usual weekend yoga pants for a charcoal power suit. That should have been my first warning. "I'm sorry, dear. What were you saying?" She sighed dramatically, the same sigh she used when Emma spilled juice or Lucas asked too many questions. "I said we need to discuss your living arrangements." My coffee cup paused halfway to my lips. "My living arrangements?" "Yes." She leaned back, manicured nails drumming against the table. My table, technically, though I'd long since stopped thinking of anything in this house as mine. I don't know if it's good for you or the kids having to always be mindful of, your presence. The coffee suddenly tasted like acid. I set the cup down carefully, my arthritis choosing that moment to send a spike of pain through my fingers. Where is David? Shouldn't he be part of this conversation? Emergency meeting at work. Rachel's eyes didn't quite meet mine, but trust me, we're completely aligned on this. Emergency meeting. On a Saturday, at a company that prided itself on work-life balance. My son, who hadn't missed a Saturday lunch in 3 years, suddenly had an emergency meeting the day his wife decided to discuss my living arrangements. I see. I folded my hands in my lap, a gesture Robert used to say made me look like a schoolmarm. 25 years as a school librarian, some habits die hard. And what exactly are these alternative options you've explored? Rachel produced a folder from beside her chair, another warning sign I'd missed. She'd come prepared. Armed. There's a lovely senior community in Fairfield, Sunrise Manor. They have excellent amenities, social programs, medical staff on site. I'm 68, Rachel, not 88. I don't need medical staff, and I certainly don't need social programs. Not yet. The words hung between us like a threat. She continued flipping through glossy brochures. The point is, you'd be with people your own age, making friends, having activities. I have friends. I have activities. Book club once a month and volunteering at the library hardly count as a social life, Eleanor. I felt heat rise in my cheeks. I also take care of my grandchildren every day after school, help with homework, cook dinner 5 nights a week. About that. Rachel's voice took on a tone I recognized, the one she used in her marketing presentations when she was about to destroy a competitor's campaign. We've had some concerns. Concerns? She pulled out another sheet of paper. Of course she had a list. You've been teaching Emma to knit. In 2024, we're trying to raise our daughter with outdated gender stereotypes. She asked to learn. She saw me knitting a scarf and the books you read to Lucas? The Chronicles of Narnia? Really? He's 5. Those aren't age appropriate. I read those same books to David when he was 5. He loved them. Yes, well, her smile could have frozen hell. That explains a lot about David's passive tendencies. The barb about my son, her husband, made my hands clench under the table. But she wasn't done. There is also the food situation. We're trying to raise conscious eaters, Eleanor. Your pot roasts and casseroles are hardly aligned with our nutritional goals. The children love my cooking. Children love candy, too. That doesn't mean we give it to them. She paused, seeming to gather herself for the final blow. And frankly, there's the issue of atmosphere. Atmosphere? The smell, Eleanor. That old person's smell in the guest suite. We've tried everything: candles, air fresheners, professional cleaning. But it lingers. It's affecting the children. Each word was a calculated blow, designed to hurt, to humiliate. I thought of the $350,000 I'd given them from the sale of my house. My house, where Robert and I raised David, where the walls had absorbed 35 years of laughter and tears and love. I'd sold it without hesitation when David called, voice shaking, saying they'd found their dream home but couldn't quite make the down payment. "We want you to be part of our lives, Mom. The kids need their grandmother close by, and that guest suite, it's like it was made for you." Rachel had been different then, too. Warm, welcoming. "You're not just moving in, Eleanor. You're becoming the heart of our home." The heart of their home? Now she was performing cardiac surgery without anesthesia. "I sold my house for you," I said quietly. Rachel's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose. "That was your choice, Eleanor. We never asked for that sacrifice." "You literally asked. We mentioned our situation. You chose to help." She pulled out another paper. God, how many documents had she prepared? "Let's look at this objectively. You gave us $350,000 3 years ago. You've lived here rent-free for 36 months. That breaks down to less than $10,000 a month. Do you know what decent senior living costs in Fairfield County? $15,000 minimum. You've actually gotten a bargain." The room spun slightly. She'd done the math. My daughter-in-law had calculated the exact dollar value of my presence in their home, like I was a rental property or a depreciated asset. "This is my son's home too," I managed. "Where is David? I want to hear this from him." Something flickered in Rachel's eyes. Triumph, maybe, or relief that I'd finally asked the right question. She stood, her chair scraping against the hardwood floor I'd polished yesterday. "David agrees with me completely. You're suffocating our family with your presence, your outdated values, your constant neediness. You sit in this house all day, watching us, judging us, trying to turn our children into little versions of your precious David." Her voice rose with each word, color flooding her face. "You're a burden to our family. Go away." The words echoed in the sudden silence. Somewhere in the house, the grandfather clock I'd given them as a housewarming gift chimed once. 1 p.m. I sat very still, feeling something shift inside me. Not break, I was too old and had lost too much for this to break me, but shift, like tectonic plates realigning before an earthquake. "I see." I stood slowly, my arthritis be damned. "And when exactly did you plan this ambush?" Rachel's smirk was answer enough. She reached for yet another document. "The papers are already drawn up. You have 30 days to—" "No." She blinked. "Excuse me?" I said no. I won't need 30 days. I met her gaze steadily. "But before I go, perhaps we should discuss the Riverside Inn?" Rachel's color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. Her perfectly painted lips parted, but no sound came out. "I don't know what you mean," she finally managed. "Oh, I understand perfectly." I swiped again. Credit card receipts, hotel bookings, text messages. Yes, I'd hired a private investigator. Robert's life insurance had to be good for something. 3 months of afternoon client meetings at the Riverside Inn, the same hotel where you and David had your wedding reception. That's particularly cruel, don't you think? How dare you? How dare I? The laugh that bubbled up from my chest surprised me. It wasn't bitter or sad. It was almost amused. You just screamed at me that I'm a burden. You calculated my worth down to the penny like I'm livestock, and you're asking how I dare protect my son? Rachel's face cycled through emotions like a broken slot machine. Anger, fear, calculation, back to anger. David doesn't satisfy. She stopped herself, but the damage was done. Don't. My voice could have frozen flame. Don't you dare blame my son for your choices. David works 70 hours a week to keep you in designer suits and private schools. He missed his father's funeral to close a contract that paid for your kitchen renovation. That was the gut punch. David missing Robert's funeral. He'd been in Singapore, finalizing a contract that would secure his promotion. Rachel had insisted he stay, said I'd understand, that Robert would have wanted him to succeed. I'd stood at my husband's graveside alone, surrounded by strangers, while my only child chased money half a world away. I'm trapped, Rachel whispered, and for a moment she looked almost human. Do you know what it's like? Being the perfect wife, the perfect mother, the perfect everything. I can't breathe in this life. So you decided to breathe down James Chen's throat instead? The cruel words surprised me. When had I become someone who could twist the knife? Maybe it started 3 years ago, the day I signed away my home. Or maybe it was just now, at 1:07 p.m. on a Saturday, when my daughter-in-law decided I was worth less than $10,000 a month. What do you want? Rachel's voice was small now, defeated. Good. I sat back down, my phone still in hand. First, let's establish what I have. 3 months of surveillance, photos that would make David vomit, credit card records showing you spent $40,000 of family money on your little adventure. Oh yes, I know about the jewelry, the weekend in the Hamptons when you told David you were at a marketing conference. Her face went pale to green. 40,000? That's not... The Cartier bracelet alone was 12,000. Really, Rachel, if you're going to have an affair, don't use the family Amazon account to buy lingerie. The digital trail is embarrassing. I pulled out a folder of my own. 2 could play the documentation game. I also have statements from the Riverside Inn staff. Lovely people, very chatty when properly motivated. Maria, the housekeeper, was particularly enlightening about the state of room 412 after your Tuesday meetings. Stop. Rachel's hands shook as she pressed them against the table. Just stop. What do you want?
What I want? I let the question hang while her imagination tortured her. The Eleanor who'd walked into this house 3 years ago would have been conciliatory, understanding, eager to smooth things over. That Eleanor was dead, murdered at this very table by a woman who smelled like Chanel No. 5 and calculated human worth in monthly installments. I want my money back, all $350,000. Today. That's impossible. It's tied up in the house. Then untie it. Home equity line of credit. Liquidate your Tesla. Sell that obscene engagement ring David bankrupted himself buying. I don't care how you do it, but you'll transfer that money by 5 p.m. today. Or what? A flicker of her old defiance returned. You'll tell David? Destroy your own son's marriage? Make your grandchildren grow up in a broken home? I smiled, and something in my expression made her flinch. Oh, Rachel, you already destroyed the marriage. I'm just holding the evidence. And as for my grandchildren, I pulled out another document. This is a petition for grandparents' rights in Connecticut, filed yesterday. My attorney says my case is rock solid, especially with evidence of parental moral turpitude. You wouldn't. I sold my home for you. The words exploded out of me, 36 months of suppressed rage finally finding voice. I gave up everything, my garden, my neighbors, my memories, my independence, because you promised me family, because David begged me to be part of your lives. And what did I get? 3 years of being treated like an unpaid servant? And now, when I'm no longer useful, you want to discard me like expired milk? Tears were streaming down my face, but I didn't care. Let her see what she'd done. Let her witness the destruction of a woman who'd only wanted to love and be loved in return. I was alone when Robert died, alone when I buried him, alone when I came back to an empty house full of 40 years of memories. And you know what? That loneliness was paradise compared to living here, watching you poison my son against me, teaching my grandchildren to see me as a burden, calculating my worth like a goddamn actuarial table. The front door opened. We both froze. "Hello?" David's voice called out. "Mom? Rachel? Why is Mom's car in the driveway? I thought she was at the library." Rachel's eyes went wide with panic. He wasn't supposed to be home until I was gone. Another lie to add to the collection.
David appeared in the doorway, still in his golf clothes. So much for that emergency meeting. My son, 36 years old, successful software engineer, terrible liar. He looked between us, taking in Rachel's tears, my phone still clutched in my hand, the papers scattered across the table. "What's going on?" Rachel recovered first, slipping back into performance mode like an actress hitting her mark. "David, honey, your mother and I were just discussing. Your wife was explaining that I'm a burden to your family," I interrupted. "That I need to leave today, apparently. She even did the math. I'm worth less than $10,000 a month in her estimation." David's face went through a series of expressions: confusion, disbelief, anger. But not surprise. God help me, there was no surprise. "Mom, let's all calm down and discuss this rationally." "You knew." The words came out as a whisper. "You knew she was going to do this?" "It's not like that," he protested, but his eyes, Robert's eyes, the ones that could never hide a lie, told the truth. "We just thought maybe you'd be happier somewhere with people your own age." "We?" I stood again, my legs surprisingly steady. "There's a we in this ambush?" "Mom, please." "No." I held up my hand. "I understand now. You couldn't face me yourself, so you sent your wife to do the dirty work, just like Singapore." He flinched. Direct hit. "That's not fair," interjected, seemingly forgetting her current predicament. "David works hard for this family." "So did I roared, surprising everyone, including myself. For 36 years, I worked hard for my family. I raised him, supported him, sacrificed for him, and this is my reward. Being told I smell, that I'm suffocating you with my presence, that my love is worth less than a monthly rental fee?" I grabbed my phone and the folder, my hands steady now with purpose. "You want me gone? Fine. I'll be gone within the hour. But first, your wife and I need to complete a small business transaction." "Business transaction?" David looked between us, finally sensing the undercurrents he'd been too cowardly to acknowledge. Rachel's face was a masterpiece of controlled panic. "It's nothing, honey. Your mother is just upset." "Your mother," I said, ice in every word, "is done being just upset. Your mother is done being silent. And your mother is definitely done being a burden." I turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, David, that emergency meeting must have been really stressful. You should ask James how his Saturday was. I'm sure he had a very relaxing afternoon." The confusion on David's face was almost comical. Rachel, however, looked like she might vomit on her designer shoes. "Mom, wait," David started after me, but I was already heading for the stairs. "1 hour. Have my money ready, Rachel, or Monday morning's partnership meeting at Chen Tech is going to have a very interesting presentation." As I climbed the stairs to pack my life into suitcases once again, I heard David's voice, confused and growing suspicious. "Rachel? What money? What's she talking about? And what does James have to do with anything?" For the first time in 3 years, I smiled a real smile. Let Rachel explain her way out of this one. I had packing to do. My hands moved with mechanical precision, folding clothes I'd hung with hope 3 years ago. Each item went into the suitcase like evidence of a crime. The cardigan Emma said made me look cozy like a teddy bear.
The dress I'd worn to Lucas's kindergarten graduation. The apron splattered with spaghetti sauce from countless family dinners that apparently meant nothing. From downstairs, voices rose and fell like an ugly symphony. David's confusion turning to anger. Rachel's explanations becoming increasingly shrill. Good. Let them feast on the truth like I'd been forced to swallow their lies. I reached for the photo album on my nightstand, the one I'd made for David's wedding 8 years ago. My fingers trembled as I opened it. There was Rachel in her $15,000 dress, radiant with triumph. She'd gotten her prize, a successful man from a good family, moldable, manageable David who'd do anything to make her happy. Your family is my family now, her handwritten vows proclaimed on page 12. I promise to cherish not just you, but all who love you. I almost laughed, but it came out as something raw and wounded. Cherish. She'd cherished me right out of my home, calculated my worth like a depreciated car, screamed at me like I was nothing more than an inconvenient piece of furniture that clashed with her aesthetic. A soft knock interrupted my bitter inventory. "Grandma?" Emma stood in the doorway, still in her soccer uniform. Of course, Saturday morning game. Grandma Catherine must have dropped the kids off early. My heart shattered into fresh pieces seeing her there, my granddaughter with David's eyes and my stubborn chin. "Emma, sweetheart, what are you doing home?" "She threw up in Grandma Catherine's car," she wrinkled her nose. "Too many donuts. She said we were disgusting and brought us back." Her eyes tracked to my suitcase. "Are you going on a trip?"
The lie rose automatically to my lips. Protect the children, don't poison them against their parents, be the bigger person. But why? Why should I be the only one swallowing truth like broken glass? "I'm moving out, sweetheart." Her face crumpled. "Why? Did I do something wrong? I'm sorry I asked you to teach me knitting. Mom said it made you think I was too girly." "No." I pulled her into my arms, breathing in her strawberry shampoo scent. "No, my darling girl, you did nothing wrong. Sometimes grown-ups just need different houses. But this is your house too." From the mouths of babes, I held her tighter, memorizing the feeling. Who knew when Rachel would let me hold my grandchildren again? "Emma, baby, listen to me." I pulled back to look at her face. "Grandma loves you more than all the stars in the sky and all the fish in the sea. That will never, ever change, no matter where I live. But who will help me with my homework? Who will make snickerdoodles on Fridays? Who will tell me stories about when Daddy was little?" Each question was a dagger. I'd been erased from their future as easily as deleting a contact from a phone. I reached into my jewelry box and pulled out a small locket. Nothing expensive, just sterling silver with a tiny photo of Robert and me inside. "I want you to have this. And whenever you miss me, you hold it tight and remember that Grandma's love is always with you." "I don't want a necklace," she sobbed. "I want you." "Mom!" David's voice thundered from downstairs. "Mom, get down here now." Emma flinched. Her father rarely raised his voice. I kissed her forehead and stood. "Go to your room, sweetheart. Everything's going to be okay." "Promise?" I couldn't, so I just smoothed her hair and guided her toward the door. As she left, I slipped a note into her pocket. My new phone number, my email, a promise that Grandma would always be there, even if there was somewhere else. The scene downstairs was a war zone. David paced the living room like a caged animal, while Rachel sat on the couch, her perfect makeup destroyed by tears that looked more calculated than genuine. $40,000? David was saying. "You spent $40,000 on what exactly?" "Your mother is lying." "I have the receipts," I said quietly from the doorway. They both turned. David looked destroyed. Rachel looked murderous. "Mom," David started, his voice cracking, "is it true? About James?" I could have softened it, could have found a gentle way to break the news. The old Eleanor would have,
But the old Eleanor was dead, murdered at 12:47 p.m. over lunch. 3 months of Tuesday and Thursday afternoons at the Riverside Inn. Ask her about the Cartier bracelet. Ask her about the weekend in the Hamptons when she was supposedly at a conference. Ask her why she's been using your joint account to buy La Perla laundry that you've never seen.
David sank into a chair, his face gray. James is my best friend. We've been partners since college. Yes, I said. I know. Rachel stood, her self-preservation instincts kicking in. David, honey, it's not what it seems. Shut up. The words were quiet but final. Just shut up, Rachel. She turned to me, desperation replacing defiance. The money. You want the money? Fine. She pulled out her laptop, hands shaking. I'll transfer it now. Just please. Rachel, what money? David looked between us, lost. What is she talking about? The $350,000 I gave you for this house, I explained, watching Rachel's fingers fly over the keyboard. Your wife calculated that my living here rent-free for 3 years made us even, so I'm collecting what's mine. You're extorting her because she hurt your feelings? David's attempt at indignation fell flat. Hard to claim moral high ground when your wife's affair was being discussed. No, son. I'm taking back what's mine because your wife made it clear I'm a business transaction, not family. She taught me well. Everything has a price. Even love, apparently. The laptop chimed. It's done, Rachel whispered. The money's transferred. I checked my phone. There it was. $350,000 returned to my account. 3 years of my life for a full refund. No exchanges, no store credit. Now get out, David said to Rachel, his voice dead. Pack a bag and get out. David, please, the children. The children can stay with their grandmother if she wasn't being thrown out of her own home. It was never my home, I said, surprising myself with the steadiness of my voice. I see that now. I was just a long-term guest who overstayed her welcome. Mom, no. David stood, reaching for me. This isn't what I wanted. I swear I didn't know about the affair. But you knew about the rest. I stepped back from his touch. You knew she was going to ambush me today? You went golfing so you wouldn't have to watch. His silence was admission enough. I need to finish packing. I turned to go, then remembered. Oh, and David, you might want to call a locksmith, and a lawyer, and probably a therapist for the children. This is going to be a difficult adjustment for them. Mom, please. I stopped, but didn't turn around. What, David? What could you possibly say that would make this better? That you're sorry? That you didn't mean it? That you love me but just not enough to stand up to your wife when she decided I was disposable? I was trying to keep everyone happy, he said weakly. Now I did turn, and whatever he saw in my face made him step back. No, son, you were trying to keep yourself comfortable. There's a difference. I headed back upstairs, each step feeling like a small victory. Behind me, I heard, trying one more manipulation. David, your mother is destroying our family. No. He cut her off. You destroyed our family. Mom just refused to be buried in the wreckage. Back in my room, not my room, just a room. I finished packing with renewed energy. The suitcases that had felt like defeat an hour ago now felt like escape pods. I was getting out. After 3 years of suffocation disguised as family devotion, I was finally getting out. Lucas appeared as I was zipping the last bag. Grandma, Emma's crying, and Mommy's screaming, and Daddy locked himself in his office? My 5-year-old grandson, still in his dinosaur pajamas at 2 in the afternoon, looked so confused it broke my heart all over again. Come here, sweet boy. I sat on the bed and pulled him onto my lap.
Do you remember when we read about the caterpillar that turned into a butterfly? He nodded solemnly. Sometimes people need to change too. Sometimes they need to fly away to become who they're meant to be. Are you turning into a butterfly, Grandma? Maybe, I said, kissing the top of his head. Maybe I am. Will you come back when you have wings? I'll always come back for you and Emma. Always. But it might look different for a while. He considered this with the seriousness only a 5-year-old could muster. Okay, but can you still make snickerdoodles with wings? Despite everything, I laughed. I'll make the best snickerdoodles you've ever tasted. A car honked outside, my Uber. I'd ordered it while packing, not trusting David to actually drive me anywhere. I gathered my suitcases, Lucas helping by dragging my purse. The walk downstairs felt like a processional. Rachel was nowhere to be seen, probably locked in the master bedroom, frantically calling divorce lawyers or James Chen or both. David emerged from his office as I reached the door. Mom, wait. He held out an envelope. I wrote this a few days ago when Rachel first brought up the idea. I was going to, I don't know, maybe give it to you after. I took the envelope, noting his shaking hands. After you'd exiled me? I'm so sorry, he whispered. I'm weak. I know I'm weak. Dad would be so disappointed. Don't. The word came out sharper than intended. Don't you dare invoke your father now. He's not here to defend himself against your assumptions.
The Uber driver was loading my suitcases. Emma had appeared on the stairs, Lucas still clutching my purse like a lifeline. Grandma loves you, I told them, my voice carrying clearly. No matter what happens, no matter what anyone says, Grandma loves you forever. Mom, David tried once more. I handed him his envelope back, unopened. For when you're ready for the truth, son, not your truth or Rachel's truth or my truth, the truth, about what family really means. Then I walked out of the house built on my sacrifice, past the garden I tended, down the driveway where I'd taught Emma to ride a bike. I didn't look back. Looking back was what had kept me trapped for 3 years. As the Uber pulled away, I saw David in the doorway, holding his children, the envelope clutched in his hand. Rachel appeared behind him, mascara streaked and desperate, probably already spinning new lies. But for the first time in 3 years, their drama wasn't my problem. I was free. 3 months later, I stood in my small apartment watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of hope. At $1,200 a month, it was modest. 1 bedroom, a kitchenette, a living room that doubled as my everything room. But it was mine. Every wall, every window, every square inch belonged to Eleanor Mitchell, not the ghost I'd been in my son's house. The $350,000 sat safely invested, growing quietly while I rebuilt. I'd returned to part-time work at the library, my real home, where books never calculated your worth or screamed that you were a burden. The children who came for story time didn't care about my old person smell. They cared that Mrs. Mitchell did voices for all the characters. Eleanor, you're glowing, Margaret, my friend and fellow librarian, often said these days. Glowing. At 68, after being discarded like expired milk, I was glowing. The transformation went deeper than appearance. I'd started a support group called Invisible No More for grandparents alienated from their families. Every Thursday, 12 to 15 seniors gathered in the library's community room, sharing stories that would break your heart and rebuild it stronger. They told me I was toxic, Harold shared, 72, kicked out by his son after refusing to babysit during his chemotherapy. Mine said I was manipulative for wanting to see my grandkids on holidays, added Susan, her voice steady now after weeks of tears. We weren't burdens. We were people who loved too much, given too freely, and been punished for the crime of aging.
My phone buzzed. A text from David. He'd been messaging regularly since Rachel moved in with James Chen, taking half of everything but none of the blame. The divorce was ugly, public, and exactly what she deserved. Mom, kid's asking for you again. Can we talk? I'd made him wait 3 months. 3 months of therapy, of proving he could stand up to Rachel during custody battles, of learning to be the father his children needed instead of the husband Rachel had molded. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., Riverside Cafe. Not the inn, that place was tainted forever. The meeting was awkward until Emma and Lucas exploded through the door like tiny hurricanes. "Grandma!" They crashed into me, all arms and joy and strawberry shampoo. "We missed you so much! Daddy's snickerdoodles taste like cardboard." David looked exhausted, but clearer, like a man waking from a long drugged sleep. "Mom, I know I can't undo what happened." "No," I agreed, holding my grandchildren tight. "You can't." "But I want to try. The kids need you. I need you. Not in my house, I understand that bridge is burned, but in our lives, on your terms." Your terms? The phrase felt foreign after years of accommodation. "Sunday dinners," I said finally. "Here. My space, my rules. You bring dessert. Store-bought is fine. I'll teach Emma to knit and read Lucas whatever books I choose. And David?" "Yes?" "The first time you let anyone make your children feel like burdens, we're done. Permanently." He nodded, tears in his eyes. "I understand." As they left, Emma clutching a new knitting project and Lucas carrying The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I realized something profound. Sometimes love means staying and fighting, but sometimes love means leaving and teaching others to value what they had. I'd lost a house but found my home, in myself, in my worth, in my refusal to be anyone's calculated sacrifice. The sunset that evening was spectacular, painting my small apartment in gold. I sat by the window, knitting a scarf no one had commissioned, reading a book no one had approved, being Eleanor Mitchell. Not mother, not grandmother, not burden, just gloriously, unapologetically myself. And that, I realized, was the greatest love story of all.